Guess what? The Memorial Day celebrated today has pretty much erased the contributions of African Americans. But why are we surprised? First known as Decoration Day, Memorial Day became a national holiday in 1971. But Memorial Day's traditions actually date back to the days of the Civil War. John Logan, a Union Army general, typically gets credit for founding the holiday. Here's how it really went down. The year was 1865. The Civil War was raging, and Charleston, South Carolina was a hot mess. White people were like, we out. But thousands of black people, many former slaves, remained. At the time, many Union soldiers were being held prisoner in a converted racecourse. At least 257 of the captives died because of the horrific conditions, and their bodies were discarded in a mass grave. Ultimately, the Union won, and a few weeks after, the Confederacy surrendered, and they packed up and left Charleston. A group of black workmen dug up the bodies, then reburied them to properly honor the fallen. They built a fence around this makeshift cemetery with a sign over the entrance saying, "Martyrs of the Racecourse." I spoke with Professor David Blight, an American historian and scholar who's credited with bringing this story to light.
They held a huge parade, and it was about 10,000 people, led by black children, carrying armloads of all kinds of flowers. They paraded around the racetrack, and then they gathered as many as could fit into the cemetery compound. About 3 or 4 black preachers read from Scripture. A children's choir sang, and they sang America the Beautiful, if you can believe it.
But still, hardly anyone knows about it.
On May 1st, 1865, is in effect the first original performance of Memorial Day, but it was created by African Americans.
Why have black people been omitted from a critical part of this holiday's history? I've got an idea. Racism.
The white South was able to control, first, its own narrative, and then a good deal of the national narrative.
Despite efforts to forget the contributions of African Americans, we remember. And just as we remember all of our fallen soldiers, we must also not forget the black workmen whose noble actions became the catalyst for the holiday that we recognize today.
In the final months of the Civil War, the Confederate Army converted a horse racing track into an outdoor prison for Union soldiers. Close to 260 men died there and were buried in a mass grave. At the end of the war, in an expression of reverence and gratitude, 28 African American workers gave them proper burials. They inscribed above their final resting place, "Martyrs of the Racecourse." 2 weeks later, thousands of freed slaves, school children, and Union soldiers made a procession to the cemetery to pay tribute to their sacrifice. They laid flowers on the graves, listened to speeches, and picnicked on the grass. This informal observance, and others like it, would evolve over time into the holiday we know as Memorial Day. On this day, we remember and honor all of those who have died from all branches of service in conflicts fought by U.S. forces.